real estate photographer.
Okay.
And I actually came to photograph this house. And when we walked inside, it was like, we got to buy it. So, I would always be asked, hey, this is a good price for the house. You want to buy it? And this is the one time where I actually said, yes, we'll buy it. So when we bought the house, we built the garage, and it turned out that one of the best investments, because now that garage is our FAA approved manufacturing facility.
So you're probably wondering what's going on. What does this have to do with Glen's hangar and aviation? This is Lyle from Six Pack Aero.
How do you do?
And so Lyle designed the panel for Mike Victor Uniform. And at the time when we rebuilt Mike Victor Uniform, there was a whole bunch of things that I wanted to do with the panel, but can't, because the older Cessna, the 172B that I have, is a very restrictive panel behind the panel, the stationary panel it's called, and you're not allowed to cut it. People do.
Yes, they do.
You're not supposed to. Mine had definitely been mangled before I got it, which kind of makes the plane
technically unairworthy.
Mine was reinforced. We're good. But Lyle has come up with a solution that you're working through the FAA for a new stationary panel to replace the older stationary panels. And that's what I'm doing out here in Bellingham, Washington. I'm going to talk to Lyle. I'm going to see what he's up to, figure out how we can get that into Mike Victor Uniform.
Absolutely.
So this is a true garage startup.
This is the great American garage startup, literally.
So is this where you cut Mike Victor Uniform's panel?
Yeah, exactly. Right over there on our Shop Saber CNC machine. This is where it was built.
So what are you planning for this space now? Is this is all stuff that you're hoping to move out to the airport?
Yeah, when we have the ability to move everything out to the airport, we'll move everything out there. When we do that, the FAA will come out. We'll have to have everything set up. As you look around, you'll see that there's little tags on everything, and it was almost like I had a feeling of going back to kindergarten, right? But as part of our getting our PMA, our Parts Manufacturing Authority, we had to designate different zones. And the FAA was great. I mean, they understood that we had a small space to be able to work in. And so they just said, you just need to label everything. So right here, this panel right here, it was the panel that was used to create yours for Mike Uniform Victor. So this is what we utilized.
That's what it should look like.
Well, even this one has been somewhat modified. There's a piece here that got cut out.
Yep.
So we've got the stationary panel that came out of our test fuselage that you'll see up at the airport. That's a really good example. It actually, we were surprised at how little modifications. But you can see, people have thrown in circuit breakers here, and when you start modifying this is just where you just weaken it. And I've actually got an example of a stationary panel right here. I'll pull out. This one right here we got for a project, and you can see.
I can see. I'm not a mechanic. You
So,
know that I'm not a mechanic.
So when we actually got this panel, this was quite deformed. So whatever put this airplane into the salvage yard, the impact was enough that this whole part was deflected, and we had to straighten this back out so that we could model. So this is an example of you can't cut out that rolled edge. That absolutely just takes away all the strength. We'll have people, kind of question us as to, well, how structural are these? And what I let them know is that when you have a float plane model, the 182 or 172 or whatnot, they use the V-braces that come down from the wing attach points. If these weren't considered structural, Cessna would have never put a V-brace for the float plane versions to the stationary panel. So that absolutely shows the point that they were structural. Plus, in the service manual, it calls out that this is a structural member. And we had that confirmed this year when we talked to the Textron representatives at Oshkosh. They said absolutely, these are structural stationary panels. We've got over here, so this is our oven that we have that we use for cooking the parts in when we do the powder coating. And then over here we've got the booth. So these are from Columbia Coatings. It's the Cool Coat brand.
So you didn't have this when you made my panel. You were sending it out still then.
So the first one, yeah, you're right. We didn't have that, right? So one of the reasons that we had to buy this equipment was we knew that as part of our STC, we were going to want a powder coat. And anytime you talk about powder coating parts, the FAA, they're kind of raised a little bit of red flags because you've got to heat the aluminum up. And for some parts that are structural parts, that will change the temper of the aluminum, and it can be a critical thing. We're only powder coating the cover panels, and at the temperatures that we're doing it at, which is 350 degrees, it basically only changes the strength by about less than 5%, and it's well within the margin. But what we had to do is we had to propose a process spec to the FAA so that we could do this. So we're in the process of detailing exactly how we do it. So we'll have calibrated equipment for doing the temperature, for reading the depth of the powder coating. But what'll be cool is when we're all done, we'll actually have an FAA approved method of doing powder coating, which is not something that exists right now. So we've gone through the extra effort so that we could actually have that as part of our STC.
Okay, so what have we got here?
So this is the stationary panel that we've developed for Cessna 172 models E through M. So this is the first product that we brought to market.
And you have the STC already for this.
We have the STC for this, and we've got our parts manufacturing authority to do. And currently this is available on aircraft spruce.
Cool. So how does it all go together?
Well, so what we've designed is a modular system. You can see here with these plexiglass panels that we use for display, is you've got the different areas that isolate the different avionics. And the idea is that as avionics change, you don't have to replace an entire one-piece panel. You can limit it to different zones to be able to replace just what you need. So it gives you flexibility, and our goal is to see 172s flying in the fleet for another 40 to 50 years.
Okay, so the flexibility is great. I love the idea of this flexibility because Mike Victor uniform, I've been flying it for a year and a half, 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And since you built the original panel,
Mm-hmm.
we've already redone one side of the face.
Yep.
And Chris and I have already molested the other side of the face, adding more switches and having just these smaller modular parts. So you're only replacing a little bit.
Exactly. It keeps it manageable, keeps it upgradable. And then we've got the radio racks that we use as well. We've got a set of those sitting over here, and we'll bust into those. Elizabeth will open that up. So
These are extruded aluminum?
extruded aluminum, yeah. So this is an existing product that's available, right? So it's been available now for 20 years. And we decided to incorporate these in our product because they're cut down, they're riveted in, they add a tremendous amount of strength, but it keeps this radio stack easily upgradable, because rather than drilling holes in a piece of angle aluminum to set your radio trays, this has a capture nut that rides inside there. So it gives you the ability to just adjust as needed. So it keeps that radio stack completely flexible without taking away any strength, because you're not creating Swiss cheese.
If you've ever rented a school 172 and looked at the panel,
Yeah,
they're even a fairly new one is pretty badly molested.
absolutely. I mean, they started out with the KX 155s, and they went to a 165, and then well, let's put in a 430. Okay, now we got to put in a new 6. Every time you've got to make little adjustments. This system that really is a beautiful system, that we knew from the moment we were going to develop this stationary panel that we were going to use this product, is just part of that ability to keep things upgradable for the next 50 years.
So you can take a 1961 172B,
Yes,
as soon as you get your STC,
that's correct.
drag it fully into 2023, and when I'm done with it in 40,
Yep.
the next person can just keep dragging it forward.
Absolutely. And what you're doing with the installation of our stationary panel, the Legacy XL stationary panel that you're going to do, you're setting your aircraft up for that next owner. They won't have any mysteries. There won't be any like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this got modified. So you're actually, you're being a responsible member of the community, keeping these airplanes flying.
In advertising, I would call this a buck, because it's something that we would be able to take apart, to film, to look at what's behind everything, to really get a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 1962 172C.
Yes.
So the B and the C model are essentially the same.
Yes. The D model has the same stationary panel, but that was the OmniVision.
The windows in the back.
Windows in the back, right? But they all three share the same stationary panel.
Okay, so this is the aircraft that you're using to show the FAA to get your STC.
That's correct. Yeah, our demonstrator, I guess you could say, so that people can touch it and feel it and understand what we're adapting. So we've got a 182 RG that will do a number of the 182s. Starting with the K model, and it should go through the K through Q. And then this is a 182, and it's we'll do also the B, C, and D. So these are right along with this 172. We're developing stationary panels for these models as well. So once we've got the initial STC, that gives us the ability to turn that STC into what's called an AML STC. So it'll be easier for us to apply or add these other models to that original STC.
How much time? So this is, as I look at this, this is remove the windshield, which in of itself is
a bit of a process.
A bit of a process.
It is.
Having taken one out, taking one out is no problem.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't want to reuse it.
That's true. That's true.
But if you want to reuse it,
exactly,
taking it out, you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Mine is bolted in. We decided not to rivet it back in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because we didn't know what was coming up. We kind of thought this was maybe
and that was smart, because that's going to allow you easily to take everything out. Typically, when they're riveted back in, they're riveted back in with Cherry Maxes.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. So we decided to bolt it in. So we take the windscreen out. That's a deal of itself. How much of the existing structure has to come out in order to put this back in?
So what you're going to do is we're going to drill out all the rivets, right? Because when the new panel goes in, it attaches to the same holes, right? And then what you're going to have to do is cut away a portion of the upper skin, and this new upper skin extension is then riveted to about an 1.5 inch strip that's left. It's riveted across the top. So basically, it kind of goes back to just that original structure. So a little bit about what comes with the kit. So the Legacy XL stationary panel kit comes with the replacement stationary panel, comes with all 5 of the cover panels that are configured to whatever instruments you're going to need. So you work with us, tell us what you want to put in there. We'll adapt the drawing, work through you to make sure that everything's good. Cut that for you. That becomes powder coated with laser engraved markings. The upper skin extension that gets riveted on, and the eyebrow. So the eyebrow, this is a sample one that we use for testing. The ones that are shipped are black, and they are fire rated, thermoplastic, and they're put on with structural screws, so it makes it easy to pull off, right? There are actually nut plates in there, so you're not just taking a sheet metal screw. It actually gives you a positive lock when it's all in there. Now you can see what we're going to do is this basically, when the panel goes in, you're going to back drill the hole. So that's, Chris will work with you on that. So we're actually attaching it to the same area, the holes are utilized, right? Yeah. Exactly. So that was the idea, is that this goes in with, minimal amount of modification. All the same brackets. You've got these brackets that are supports that go from the stationary panel to the firewall.
Yep.
We don't omit those. Cessna put those in for a reason, so we picked those up with our design.
So they come back in the same.
Yeah.
So there's one right here.
Exactly.
There's another one over here.
Right down here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This doesn't look that daunting.
It really isn't. We tell customers to expect for about 2 weeks, right? So it's going to take you probably 3 days to get everything out. You want a good 2 days to put everything back in. And then there comes the wiring and whatnot. Your situation is a little bit different because you've already been in there. A lot of that stuff's already been cleaned up and whatnot.
Well, and all the Dynon stuff is plug and play. So this is Elizabeth. She is the paperwork person.
Yes.
For Six Pack. Is that fair?
She's the operations manager.
Operations manager.
Yeah.
Which means you're actually filling out the paperwork, building the books for the STC, for the
Yeah.
FAA to approve the STC.
Yeah, so basically all the documentation that gets submitted to the FAA, all the installation manuals, everything that goes along with that, I do that. I work with the DERs a lot to come up with all of that stuff. So basically that's kind of my part in getting the STC.
So every customer's question, when? Because you don't have the STC yet for the B&C models.
No.
You're still in sort of the proof of concept stage. You're still in
Exactly.
the planning and the. How far out are you? Do you think?
So
Months or years?
probably maybe a year at the most. So right now what we're doing is we're working with the DERs to basically confirm our layouts and our drawings and everything like we've done in the airplane.
Okay.
And so they're taking a look at everything, doing up all the official design data that we'll submit to the FAA, and they are basically kind of doing all the structural substantiation and everything. So that's in process right now. The next steps kind of will be after that is once all of that's complete, we'll submit it to the FAA. Our original STC only took 4 weeks once we submitted everything. So we're hoping that this will go even smoother because we've already done a lot of the legwork. As far as being able to get it to you, we have to take one extra step. Once we get that STC basically finalized with the FAA, then you being our first Canadian customer, we will be able to submit everything to Canada, and hopefully it's just a matter of a few weeks. Canada looks at all of our stuff and says, "Yep, FAA says it's good. We say it's good." So. Have at it.
And Transport Canada probably will not come out and actually look at it. They'll just work off paperwork.
Yeah, so basically the FAA has with Transport Canada what they call bilateral agreement.
Yep.
And so basically they'll take a look at all of the design data that's been approved by the FAA, and then they'll say, if you guys say it's good, then we'll go for it.
So we're looking at probably a year.
That's what we're thinking. We're hoping less.
Okay.
Definitely hoping that it'll go a little smoother. But
So a year from now, we'll roll Mike Victor uniform into Chris's shop.
Yeah.
And we'll show everybody how to change this panel out and put in a new one.
Now, you got to be prepared. It might be sooner.
I'm always
It might be
prepared.
sooner.
I am always prepared for sooner.
But what I would say is
As long as I'm not down during Oshkosh.
well, I'm going to say that my prediction would be, I think this is going to be your next winter's project.
Yep.
Let's look at that, right? Because you don't want to be down for Oshkosh. I'd love to be able to have, your aircraft at Oshkosh with the new panel. But there's a lot of things. I mean, we don't even know if the government's going to be running in a few weeks.
Well, there's so many variables.
Yes,
there are
there is.
so many variables in
Yeah.
the whole process.
Yeah.
And even just something very minor can hold you up for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm really excited about this. I'm looking forward to it. It is the next step in bringing Mike Victor uniform into 2023, 2024,
Absolutely.
and into the next owner. So I always laugh because at some point someone's going to have that plane and they're going to watch these videos and what was that guy doing? But hopefully I'm doing the right thing for the airplane.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. I got one last question.
Yeah,
You want to go flying?
I do want to go flying. Let's go flying.
Let's go flying.
let's go fly.
Clear prop.